Hey everyone. So I wanted to come on here and talk about something that's kind of interesting, to talk about because I'm sure a lot of people have thought about this throughout the years, if not the decades. You know, yesterday, as I'm recording this, but Thursday by the time you listen to it, was Thanksgiving. And of course, with Thanksgiving, traditionally you have the Thanksgiving Day Parade, primarily the Macy's one. But of course, as we've noticed throughout the years, if you go to YouTube and other areas, you know, other outlets like ABC News through YouTube, and I think syndicated local stations and all that, they have their own Thanksgiving Day parades, that get telecast or streamed. And that's cool. Everybody gets to join in on the party, but the primary one, of course, is Macy's. But what's interesting about this year's Thanksgiving, of course, Thanksgiving Day Parade, was the fact that, of course, it was rainy. Now, I'm not sure if the rain died down a little bit as it was progressing. It looked like it did, but you could definitely tell that the heavy portion of the rain that was coming down had an effect on, some things like War and Treaty. The husband and wife duo who are very good, very good. I recommend listening to the music. But War and Treaty, basically, the rain, in my opinion, caused them to have some technical difficulties to where they had to be delayed by at least 5 minutes. This basically had the host from the Today Show kind of improvise on what was going on, kind of go to another float that was supposedly coming after War and Treaty, focus on that, and then go to commercial break. And when they came back, War and Treaty was, essentially, ready to go. They were ready to perform, all the technical issues or, I guess you could say figured out, taken care of. But when I look at that, and then I look at some of the other situations throughout, I mean, it was a good parade. And like I said, it looked like the rain kind of died off a little bit or lightened up a little bit throughout the course of the parade itself. And for anybody that was there listening to me, listening to me on YouTube or other places, let me know if you were there watching the parade live or, in person, or watching it live on television from the central and east coast portion of the country. Let me know if it did lighten up a little bit as it was going on. But getting back on point, you can definitely tell that even while it was lightening up, as it looked like it was, and again, for anybody that was watching it live when it happened, or was there live in person, let me know. But again, despite it lightening up and everything, as it looked like it did, it definitely looked like the rain, the heavy portion, was played a factor, not just in the War and Treaty deal or situation, but also in some other factors as well. Like, you could tell some of the artists that were singing their songs, or at least pantomiming their songs, if you will, basically the recordings that they were pantomiming to, or at least singing along to, and to make it look like they were singing live. You can definitely tell that, even though they were giving it their all, that, yeah, they probably had some issues as well, but thankfully those issues were figured out before they got to Herald Square. But the reason I bring all this up is because one of the I guess you could say, I wouldn't say downfalls of the parade when it happens with weather like this. But one thing I noticed is the balloons, they do go up a little high, but they also stay lower. Now, I can understand because it's raining and you don't know what the rain's going to do and all that. But, when I look at the balloons being low, I mean, they do try to get them up to a higher enough level to where, hey, it's passable. And that's good. But again, I noticed they seemingly were lower than usual. And like I said, I can understand that being because of the rain and such. So that's perfectly understandable. But what I'm getting at is when you take everything that I've just said into consideration, as convoluted and confusing and ramblous as it may have sounded, it makes you wonder if maybe Macy's should consider holding off on the Thanksgiving Day parade. You know, um, what I mean by that is, not hold off on having it on the day it needs to be on, which is Thanksgiving, but kind of hold off, a extra day, like Friday, like Black Friday or whatever, to at least Thanksgiving weekend, I should say, like like basically hold off, or I wouldn't say hold off, but kind of hold off, or at least check off, whatever you want to call it, the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, just in case weather like this happens. Because I've noticed that the weather was going to get a little better today as I'm recording this, which is Friday, the Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving. I noticed it was getting better. Weather.com showed it was getting better, and I think Saturday was going to get better as well. So my thought process is, if you know that you're going to encounter this kind of weather going into the parade, and you know that it might have an effect on some of what you are presenting, then maybe you should consider holding off until at least maybe Friday, and then saying, hey, due to the weather and everything, and not wanting to take chances and have technical difficulties, the parade will be on Friday, but in its place we'll give you a best of parade 3-hour show to make up for it. I think that's what Macy's should consider. I think that's what Macy's should consider in the future, that if they deal with something like this, like let's say next year, that what they need to do is say, hey, we're not going to have the parade on Thanksgiving, unfortunately, due to the weather, and we don't want it to cause any technical difficulties. We don't want to, risk any possible injuries because of slippage on the ground and everything. So we're going to hold off until at least Friday, or we're going to hold off until at least Saturday at the latest. And I get people that are listening to this and they're saying, well, that's kind of stupid. Well, let me ask you this. In return. Yes, it is possibly stupid to consider doing, but put yourself in the shoes of some of those volunteers, some of those parade performers and handlers, and even the Broadway musical dancers and and even the artists they bring in, legends and current. Ask yourself this. Would you rather, risk an injury, or maybe some kind of electrocution, if you will, due to wet weather like that, or would you rather, play it safe and hold off until a more suitable day, like maybe the next day, or maybe even the Saturday of the weekend, to go and put the parade on? And if I'm in the position of all those people, I would choose option B. I want to be safe. I'd want to be safe. But look, I will give them credit. They know what to do. They prepare themselves for rain or shine, or snow, rain, or rain or shine, rain or sun, snow, rain or sun, if you will. I give them credit for doing that. I do. I give them credit for doing that. But the thing is, when you watch a parade, if you're somebody that watches the parade at home, which I've been doing since I was a little kid, you kind of get this mixed feeling of, when you watch it and it's a nice day, you're like, oh, this is great. You get that feeling of this is the parade, this is the kickoff to the holiday Christmas season. But then when you look at it, with a day where it's raining and all that, maybe a little bit of snow, but mostly raining, you're like, yeah, it's fun and everything to see this, but still, it doesn't. It's like something feels off, and you kind of see the effects of it as well. Like, Maybe they're not technically big effects, but you definitely see it. And even though it does officially kick off the holiday Christmas season, you kind of it kind of makes you wonder, like, why have it, on a gloomy day like today, like it was on Thursday. Why have it on a gloomy, rainy day, and not hold off on it until at least we got partial sunny skies, maybe the day or two before, day after, I should say. It makes you wonder all that. It makes you wonder. And again, I give them credit. They train and practice almost seemingly the week after the parade. If the week after the parade, they start getting everything together for next year, and they practice. They contact all the people they're going to bring in. They practice. They perform. They, I guess, have a studio, because this was distributed or co-distributed by Macy Studios. They have like a warehouse, everything, I guess, where they could practice in different elements just in case, like rain or snow. So again, I give them credit for going through all that, and still putting on a good parade, a great parade. But still, you can kind of tell in a way that it felt, it's like, I'm not saying the parade wasn't good. I thought it was great. Don't get me wrong, I thought it was great. But it just felt like something was a little off. And I think it's mainly because of the fact that, the weather, it was still very rainy. It obviously lightened up, I should say, throughout. But it was still very rainy, and it kind of brought things down. And when you see people in ponchos, rain ponchos, you know, throughout in the crowd, throughout, the broadcast of the parade, you're like, they must be, it's like, give them credit for going out there and going out there to watch it live. But you can't tell me they're not thinking to themselves, man, couldn't they just hold off maybe another day or so? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But again, give the people that attended there credit. Even those of you that might be listening, give you credit for being there. But still, it makes you wonder if maybe Macy's should consider in the future just holding, just reserving and holding off, and checking off, the parade until like a day or two later, when the weather's a little bit more decent, and then maybe in its place have NBC showcase a best of 3-hour presentation of past parade moments. I think it would work. I think it'd be suitable. And honestly, you can't tell me that they will not. They will not have that. You cannot tell me that one of the commentators on there, Hoda, who's Hoda of today, it's going to be, which is, this was her last parade. You can't tell me Hoda, deep down, and I say this in my own opinion, wasn't disappointed that it wasn't a nicer day, or they couldn't have a nicer day to put the parade on for what would be her last one. I'm just saying, you know, you can't tell me Hoda wasn't. What's her name again? Let me double check. It's Hoda something. Hold on. I mean, you can't tell me that Hoda Cobb, and that's Kotb, Hoda Cobb. You can't tell me she wasn't not a little disappointed. Like, yes, give her credit for braving it along with Savannah and Al, and others. I'll give them credit, but still, you can't tell me, in my opinion, you can't tell me she wasn't a little disappointed that it wasn't a nicer day, or they couldn't hold it off until maybe the weather got a little better, a little nicer. I'm just saying. Again, this is something that Macy's should consider. And NBC is a longtime partner of theirs. And NBC, Comcast, Xfinity, if you will, should have a say in it. They should have a say. And I believe, honestly, that going into next year, again, I know they probably practice with different kind of elements. They probably have a warehouse in Hollywood or somewhere in New York or wherever where they practice, in different kind of elemental situations to, be prepared. I get that. I understand that and respect that. But you can't tell me that somebody has never recommended, hey, what if we just reserved Thanksgiving weekend for the parade, just in case, weather, plays a major factor and we can't do the parade. I'm just saying I'm just saying that again, if I'm Macy's, and I know I'm being repetitive in some of the words I'm using, I do apologize, but you can't tell me that, it's not something that someone at Macy's, maybe even the higher ups at Macy's and even NBC haven't suggested. And Hoda Cobb, you can't tell me that deep down she isn't a little disappointed that, this being her last parade, it wasn't a nicer day to happen on. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And again, I do apologize for being repetitive with my words. I'm recording this late, so I do apologize. But I'm just, again, my thing is, I just feel if they would have just held off until at least yesterday, well, now it's yesterday, it's about 12:04 a.m. on Saturday. But if they would have held off till at least yesterday, maybe even today, weather permitting, I think they would have had a more traditional, well, not so traditional because it's happening on different days, but a more traditional, more in line Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade than what we'd had in the past. But hey, that's just my opinion. But outside of that, again, I thought they did a decent job. Even rain or snow, rain or shine, they did a decent job. Give them all credit. But I think it's just something they should consider. And hopefully somebody brings it up. I mean, again, you had the technical difficulties with War and Treaty. That's obviously because of the weather. Maybe the weather short-circuiting some things. We don't know. And you can't tell me that some of the other performers and handlers, like I said earlier, were not thinking to themselves, man, why are we here in this weather? Why didn't they call this off until at least maybe tomorrow or Saturday? You have to wonder if they weren't thinking that, because I'm sure they were. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Do you think Macy's and NBC, but mostly Macy's, should consider reserving, holding off, checking off, the first 3 days, the 2 days after Thanksgiving, to have the parade on, weather permitting, just in case, this year they get, a very rainy situation to where it could cause some safety, if not, safety issues and as well as some technical issues. Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are on all that. Comment below. Love to hear from each and every one of you. And until then, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere, as well as find me at divanart.com at BVW1979, and click on the link at the bottom of the description, I should say, to look at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree with me on what I've had to say here? Again, I do apologize for being a little repetitive. I am doing this late. But let me know what your thoughts are. Love to hear from you guys. And until then, I'm out.